When you're so excited about helping other people, you kind of forget that there's ground rules that apply to you too. And if you are somebody who's a healer, a coach, a wellness practitioner, somebody who's in the healing arts, I know you get so excited when you help others. The transformations that you're helping them through, the mentorship, the coaching that you're giving, the nervous system regulation that's happening, the forgiveness, the trauma healing, the inner child, all of these different things are so amazing and cool. But do not forget that there's also foundational rules and guidelines that you should be following as a healing arts practitioner too. And it's so common that we get super wrapped up in our work and we're so excited that, we might not actually notice that we're doing some of these things. So that's why it's really great for us to have a grounding conversation to say, if I've been doing this, how is it that I can adjust going forward? And if I haven't even started doing my work, if I'm a brand new practitioner, this is something that I can keep in mind as I'm going forward. So go ahead and grab your pen, your paper, take some notes, definitely hit subscribe, and let's get into it. Whether you're a brand new aspiring healer or you're somebody who's been dabbling in the healing arts for some time, or you're an established professional in the healing arts, one of the things that we miss is the concept of trauma bonding. And this happens very, very frequently, especially in the online space and especially in the groups and communities that a lot of people host without really training as conscious practitioners and facilitators. And it's really amazing that your heart has this great desire to help people through trauma and you want them to be able to share their stories, and you hold this space where people can, talk and share the past of their experiences and different things like that. And also understand if you're creating spaces that are trauma bonded. And what this means is that maybe you are a practitioner who definitely leads with your trauma rather than the healing that you've done from experiencing that trauma. So it's not to say that you can't talk about your trauma or you can't talk about your past or the different things that have happened, but are you creating relationships and bonds with people based on sharing something that was really tragic in your life? This is important for you to notice whether you're sharing a story from a place of empowerment or sharing from a place of bonding with somebody because they're relating and translating their experiences into yours. This is very common for folks who are in the healing arts because many of us get into the healing arts because we had something that we wanted to heal through or get over or do, or we were working through some kind of shadow work that we were going through that initiated yourself in the healing arts. That sometimes is the beautiful part, but that can also translate into creating containers and communities that are hyper focused on talking about the problem rather than giving the solutions or the tools that help other people move forward from that problem. This is a wounded energy where you're just going around in circle and circle and circle, and every Thursday we meet, we just regurgitate and then we move forward, and everybody's left worse than when they came in. Now, your responsibility as a healer, the coach, the wellness practitioner is to understand if the spaces that you are creating are only focused on that storytelling rather than that, and also giving the tools for people to move forward. Because what happens when we're trauma bonding is that there's very specific chemical releases that happen. We connect on stories, right? Anytime you have an emotional connection to someone, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, you are bonding on a chemical level with the person. And your subconscious doesn't actually know the difference between what is real, what has happened in the past, or what is happening in the present. So when we're just participating in telling the same story over and over and over again, our subconscious mind cannot tell the difference. So it is your responsibility as the space holder to know, are you holding space for this trauma bond to happen? Are you the one who is creating that trauma bond? Or is sharing stories part of this scenario? And also you're giving resources for people to move forward. The second mistake you want to avoid as a healer is to not leave things too open-ended. People want to feel completion. This is true for the human psyche. We just want to know that something finished, right? You have a graduation, you have a completion, you have some kind of ending to a thing. Even though the healing journey is like infinite and whatever, there's no level 10 that you're getting to, but your time with your people, whether it's a private client, whether it's a group that you're hosting, whether it's some other kind of offer that you have, you want to actually make sure that there's some form of completion to that cycle. And this is important because if we're going back to point one where we said trauma bonding is a loop. It's onward, and the second part actually leads into that. It's a spin cycle where you're doing the same thing over and over again, and now you are in the healer's trap. It's always finding something to heal, always finding something to fix, always finding, right? It's like this never-ending sense of not enoughness, where you never feel like you finished a thing. So this is going to trigger people's self-worthiness. This is going to triggers people's perfectionism. This is going to make people overthink. This is going to make people feel that like they're not good enough. Now, all of that is not your sole responsibility. But if you think about, if you're leaving things too open-ended where people are just needing you for the rest of their lives, you've created a codependent relationship there. The goal here is to equip people with the tools and the resources and the space that they need in order to grow, to elevate, to learn, to understand, to develop some kind of transformation, and at the end, integrate that for themselves so they can move forward. So one, you're not trauma bonding with them and just like letting people just live in the same cycle. And number two, you haven't led people into an open-ended relationship with you so that it's not feeling like this never-ending cycle. The third mistake that you want to avoid as a healer is that perhaps you're not actually embodying the thing that you're teaching and preaching. And this is very common for folks who really know things in theory but don't really know things in practice. And your role as the coach, as the healer, as the practitioner to actually understand and embody the thing that you're helping somebody through. So why would I want to learn about boundaries from somebody who doesn't have boundaries? Why would I want to be learning about self-love from somebody who doesn't have self-love? Why would I be learning about X, Y, and Z from somebody who doesn't know X, Y, and Z? Why would I be learning about painting from a person who doesn't paint? And in that sense, it's like sometimes you're teaching something that you really understand in theory, but you just don't know it in practice. And that's okay. That's not to say like you should quit your job and that's not what you should do anymore. But it's a good thing for you to notice that sometimes our evolution and our process and journey and stages in the healing arts has put us into a place where we are really good at talking about the thing, but we're not really good at being about that thing. So that is a huge mistake that you want to avoid. And it's not to say that like you can't do your work because like you're not embodying the thing. Understand what is it that you can do in your own life to take your own advice. How is it that you can apply the things that you're teaching? How is it that you can apply the methodologies that you are, passing on to other people? How is it that you can do for yourself? And by the embodiment of your truth and the embodiment of this, like physically, literally embedding in your physical body, it exudes out of you what it is that you're actually trying to say. So don't teach me about confidence if you're not confident. Don't teach me about gardening if you don't know how to keep your plants alive. Like, don't teach me about X, Y, and Z if you just don't know that. And let me know in the comments if you've experienced any of these three: the trauma bonding, leaving things too open, or not really embodying what it is that you teach and preach. And if the answer is, I've done all three, it's okay. That's why we're having the conversation, because having that awareness really helps us make those next decisions for ourselves. And of course, if you are interested to train in the healing arts, go ahead and head to www.alwaysplay.org and you'll find certification programs for sound healing, embodiment coaching, breathwork facilitator training, and also courses that you can use for exploration in the healing arts. And just remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.